Durrusehvar Sultan was the daughter of the last ruler of the great Ottoman Empire. She lived in a palace where the walls were made of gold. But after the fall of the empire, everything changed. She experienced fame and humiliation, wealth and exile. She was destined to marry the richest man in the world, but her life was far from a fairy tale. How did the last Ottoman princess end up in the harem of an Indian ruler? What dramas and losses did she have to endure? Where did she escape from her husband? And why did she never return to her homeland? Watch the full video to learn about the incredible fate of the last Ottoman princess. Let's begin. Durrusehvar was born in Istanbul in 1914. Her father, Prince Abdülmecid, was one of the sons of the great Ottoman Sultan, and her mother was the prince's third wife. The princess spent her childhood in the luxury of the Dolmabahce Palace. She received an excellent home education and spoke 4 languages. Even then, it was clear that Durrusehvar would grow into a true beauty. It seemed this world of splendor would last forever. But the fairy tale did not last long. When Durrusehvar turned 8, the Ottoman Empire collapsed after 6 centuries of existence. Sultan Mehmed fled to Europe, and his son, Durrusehvar's father, was appointed Caliph, the spiritual leader of Muslims without any real power. But it was only a delay of the inevitable. 2 years later, the great empire turned into the Turkish Republic. Every member of the Ottoman dynasty was given only 48 hours to leave the country forever. The princess's life turned into a nightmare. At just 10 years old, Durrusehvar, taking only a small box of jewelry, went into exile. Around 150 descendants of the great empire lost everything in a matter of days: their palaces, money, and titles. They scattered across different countries of Europe. But how did the young princess end up in the harem of an Indian ruler? Durrusehvar's family settled in a modest apartment in Nice, in the south of France. In exile, the impoverished former Caliph received small allowances from Muslim communities and the Red Crescent. This allowed the princess to continue her education. Even in exile, she was one of the most desirable brides. From her mother, she inherited bright blue eyes, and her thick chestnut hair gave her exceptional charm. Even the King of Egypt, Ahmed Fuad, and the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, wished to marry her. But the princess's father refused, saying she was still too young. However, the fate of Durrusehvar soon changed forever. In 1931, the impoverished Caliph's family received an offer they could not refuse. The richest man in the world, Asaf Jah VII, the ruler of one of India's princely states, decided to marry his son to the beautiful princess. His son was Azam Jah, the crown prince, who was 21 years old. Durrusehvar was only 17. It was a marriage of convenience and a union between 2 great Muslim families. At first, the discussion concerned only Durrusehvar, but during an argument about the size of the dowry, her father demanded a very high amount. The Indian ruler jokingly suggested taking 2 brides for the price of 1. So a double wedding took place. Durrusehvar married the crown prince, and her cousin Niloufer married his younger brother. Right after the modest wedding in Nice, both couples set out on a long journey to India. Even on the ship, the princesses were taught how to wear a sari and follow Indian etiquette. Upon arrival, they were greeted by the unbelievable luxury of the palace. The groom's family possessed immense wealth from precious stone mining. Their palaces were decorated with diamonds, and their treasury held legendary gems valued like entire nations. Durrusehvar received the title Princess of Berar and gave birth to 2 sons. It seemed that her new life had brought her wealth and peace. But very soon, the dazzling beauty and intelligence of Durrusehvar proved powerless against what was happening behind the palace walls. So why did her life become an endless chain of hardships? The marriage turned out to be deeply unhappy. The court nobility saw her as a poor outsider and often reminded her that she had practically been sold for a large sum. Her husband, Azam Jah, was a careless man, and soon he returned to his previous lifestyle: pleasure, gambling, and affairs with numerous concubines. The situation grew even more dramatic because of his father, who enjoyed publicly mocking his son for being much shorter than his wife. Because of these constant humiliations, the prince grew to hate his wife. But Durrusehvar, like a true woman of the East, endured her husband's neglect with dignity. Out of their 23 years of marriage, they barely spoke for almost half that time. However, Durrusehvar earned the respect of her father-in-law, and instead of suffering in silence, she used her position wisely. She learned the Urdu language and introduced the Banarasi sari into fashion, becoming an icon of style and dignity. The princess became a true reformer of women's education in Hyderabad. She openly supported women's rights and spoke against the tradition of purdah, the seclusion of women. Under her patronage, colleges, maternity homes, and hospitals were founded, and many of them still operate under her name today. She won the hearts of ordinary people, becoming not just a titled woman, but a protector and a princess of hearts. But then a tragedy struck that changed her entire life. In 1944, her beloved father, Abdulmajid II, died in Paris. Durrusehvar launched a years-long campaign, demanding that the Turkish government allow her father to be buried in Istanbul. But Turkey refused, fearing the rise of monarchist sentiment. The former Caliph was buried in Medina, in Saudi Arabia. For the princess, this refusal became a symbol of losing her homeland forever. Soon, another tragedy reached her. In 1948, the princely state of Hyderabad was annexed by India. The royal rule collapsed. Durrusehvar once again witnessed the fall of an empire, the second one in her lifetime. But why did she never return to her homeland? And what happened next in the life of the last Ottoman princess? After 23 years of unhappy marriage, she made a bold and unprecedented decision for a Muslim princess. She filed for divorce. Durrusehvar moved to London, but she did not stop her public work and continued supporting charitable foundations in India. She provided her sons with an excellent European education. Both studied at Eton and Cambridge. She dreamed that they would marry Turkish women, preserving their connection to the Ottoman lineage. Her former husband, Azam Jah, drowned in reckless spending after the divorce. Eventually, his father disinherited him. The elder son, Mukarram Jah, inherited the title of the 8th Nizam of Hyderabad, even if only nominally. He became one of the richest men in India, a collector of gemstones, and the owner of the famous Jacob diamond. He married a Turkish princess, Ezra Bergen. Mukarram died in 2023 and was buried with state honours in India. Thousands of people came to say goodbye. The younger son, Mufakkam Jah, lives in London and is now the head of the Nizam family and the keeper of its legacy. He manages the foundation that oversees the palaces, museums, and charities established by his mother. He also married a Turkish princess, just as his mother wished, preserving Ottoman blood and Turkish roots. In 1952, the Turkish government announced an amnesty for the women of the Ottoman dynasty. But Durrusehvar refused to return to Turkey. Her reason was symbolic. The authorities had not allowed her father to be buried in his homeland. She said, "If he cannot return, then I will not return either." She lived in London for the rest of her life, and in her will she stated that she did not wish to be buried in Turkey. Durrusehvar Sultan passed away in 2006 at the age of 92. She was buried at Brookwood Cemetery in England, remaining in exile until the end. She was the last princess born in the Ottoman Empire. Her legacy is not ruins, but the schools and hospitals that still carry her name. History has shown that royal power can be taken away, but dignity and the power to create cannot. What do you think about this dramatic story of Princess Durrusehvar's life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.